Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
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 Okay, so we are in chapter 18. What's the title of chapter 18?
The perfection of renunciation.
Yes, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. So in the previous class, we saw Krishna going through the yoga ladder. He starts to describe the qualities of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. So here he explains 9 qualities of the Brahmanas, 7 qualities of the Kshatriyas, and 43. And then he explains Vaishyas, the occupation of Vaishyas, farming, cow protection, and business. And then Shudras, he says that they are the labor class and they render service to the others. So a Shudra only knows how to receive an instruction and execute it. Then Krishna goes on to explain how each one should follow the qualities of work that of his varna and can become perfect. And Krishna also says that it is better to engage in one's occupation, even though imperfectly, than to perform another's occupation perfectly. Why? Because everybody has a certain nature. A Kshatriya has a certain nature, a Brahman has a certain nature. And if he does his occupation according to his nature, then he will be happy in his occupation. And he will also be able to render service to the others. So, and therefore, the entire society will be peaceful and there will be smooth functioning in the society. So when he speaks about varnas and all this, he's going through the karma section of the yoga ladder. And then here in 51 to 53, Krishna is describing a yogi who is purified in consciousness through his work, and he has progressed upward on the yoga ladder from karma to jnana section. So here 51 to 53, he talks about how one goes to a secluded place and he controls his body, speech, and he's a trance. So here he's describing this entire section. He's describing the jnana yoga section of the yoga ladder. Then in 54, Krishna is describing how jnana leads to bhakti. And from this point onwards, right up to the level of Sharanagati, where Krishna talks about complete surrender unto him in verse 66, Krishna is going to talk about bhakti yoga. So here we see how Krishna is going through the yoga ladder again. Remember, this chapter is a conclusion and is just a revision of what Krishna has already spoken before throughout the Gita. Now, I wanted to make a few points which I didn't make in our previous class. Here, Krishna is talking about Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. In this chapter, later we will see how Krishna goes on to describe more confidential and most confidential knowledge. See here, Krishna says, thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. So before this, Krishna has explained about the super soul. So knowledge about the super soul is more confidential. And then Krishna says that now he will speak the most confidential knowledge in 64, which we will see today. And the most confidential knowledge is what he speaks in 65 and 66. 65 is that verse which Krishna has already spoken before, Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakto, which he has already spoken before in chapter number 9. So he repeats that here. And 66, of course, is the most famous verse of the Gita, where Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. So this is more confidential and most confidential. So what is confidential knowledge is what Krishna has explained here when he says Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Brahma Bhuta is that stage where one is self-realized. One comes to the understanding that he is the spirit soul. And it means that one is free from material anxieties, because when one understands that I am the spirit soul, and so he is free from material anxieties, the anxieties of birth, death, disease, or old age, and any other anxiety that is related to this body. So therefore, what is a symptom of one who has reached a Brahma Bhuta stage is Prasanatma. He is happy and joyful. Okay, so this knowledge of Brahma Bhuta, that is confidential knowledge. Another thing in this verse is Krishna says, Mat Bhaktim Labate Param. So one attains devotional service, Mat Bhaktim Labate Param. So what we understand from this is Bhakti Yoga is not something that is invented or manufactured at a particular point of time. It is already there inbuilt. It's just that it is mixed with Jnana. Remember this, he's transitioning from Jnana to Bhakti. So at some point, this Bhakti is mixed with Jnana Yoga. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is an Acharya in our disciplic succession, he explains how, just as how gold and gems may be mixed with stones, ordinary stones, and when the stones are removed, now the gems and the gold is available to us in the pure state or individually, just on its own. In the same way, when from Jnana Mishra Bhakti, the Jnana aspect, the renunciation, Vairagya is removed, then pure Bhakti remains as an automatic product there. So Bhakti is not something that has to be separately worked on for. It is already there in each one of us. It's just that right now it is covered and we have to bring it out. And how does it come about? By associating with a pure devotee. Okay, so these are the points I wanted to mention before we begin today's class. We need 2 volunteers to read, please. Who can read?
I can read, Mataji.
Okay, thank you, Mehak. So you would read the...
I can read the translations.
Okay, and who can read the other text?
I can read. Nobody's reading.
Okay, thank you, Baraya. So today we have to begin from 56. Let's read this.
Section 6, working in pure devotion service. One on the platform of devotion should work under the order of Lord, fully depending on him and being fully conscious of him. One will thus be free from the control of the mode of material nature.
Okay, let's see this. But before we begin, please repeat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
सर्वकर्माण्यपि सदा कुर्वाणो मद्व्यपाश्रयः मत्प्रसादादवाप्नोति शाश्वतं पदमव्ययम्.
Though engaged in all kinds of activities, my pure devotee under my protection reaches the eternal and imperishable abode by my grace.
So Krishna here is again stressing in this verse that it is not necessary to refrain from activities. We can engage in activities, and although one is engaged in activities, still he can attain the Lord's imperishable abode by his grace. See, when one one has to engage in some activity, right? One is going to be doing something. One inactivity is not an option at all for the soul. We cannot do zero activity. So we will be engaged in some activity or the other. And activity means reaction. The activities we do is going to be either good or bad. If we do good activities, it's going to take us to heavenly planets. If we do bad activities, it is going to take us down to hellish planets. But whatever it is, good or bad, heaven or hell, the point is we are still in this material realm. So what Krishna can do, if one is a devotee of the Lord and one Krishnizes his consciousness, one does the work, but with the consciousness of the Lord, then Krishna says he can, by his grace, by his protection, we can reach his abode. So Krishna can override the rules of the game for his devotee. That is what that's what Krishna is saying here, and he's reasserting the power of his grace by saying that, yes, my devotee can do any activity, but still he will not be bound. He can attain my abode.
चेतसा सर्वकर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्परः बुद्धियोगमुपाश्रित्य मच्चित्तः सततं भव.
In all activities, just depend upon me and work always upon under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me.
So Krishna here he is describing a devotee's mood of complete dependence on Krishna. There are 3 points he is making. What is it? First, he is saying in all activities, just depend upon me. 2, always work under my protection. And 3, be fully conscious of me. So a devotee's mood is such that a devotee is completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Just as how the baby cat is completely dependent on its mother, no? The baby cat, we have seen that example. How the mother cat holds the baby cat on its neck, and the baby cat is just completely dependent on the mother's cat. And the baby cat is not afraid that my mother is going to drop me and I may fall. So like that, the devotee is completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna. When Srila Prabhupada was on board the Jaladuta, he wrote this poem to Krishna. It's a long poem, very, very nice poem. You can read the entire poem. You can just Google it, Prabhupada's prayer to Krishna on the Jaladuta. But today we will read an extract of this prayer, and we will see what was Srila Prabhupada's mood when he was on board the Jaladuta. Let's read this.
How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me success or failure as you like. O spiritual master of all the words, I can simply repeat your message. So if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel engladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance. Make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I have been uh, designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. Signed, the most unfortunate, insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, on board the ship Jaladuta, Commonwealth Pier, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, dated 18th of September, 1965.
So you see how Srila Prabhupada's mood on board the Jaladuta. He's 70 years old and he has no money, and how he's completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna. He's not thinking that, okay, I'm a pure devotee and I'm here to fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master. So Krishna should definitely give me success. He is not praying to Krishna that, oh, please make my power of speaking suitable. He's saying, if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding. Then what does he say here? I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, oh Lord, make me dance as you like. So he's just telling Krishna that, okay, however you want to make me dance, you make me dance. If you want to give me success, give me success. If you want to give me failure, give me failure. So he's equipoised. No, see the way Srila Prabhupada prays. And this is how he has taught us to also pray. Whatever prayer we have for Krishna, we should add the word if you like, and then we pray to Krishna. So Prabhupada's mood is that of complete dependence on the mercy of Krishna. And that's what is Krishna saying here. That is what is the mood of a devotee. Let's read this question.
A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act?
So one may say that, all right, Arjuna received personal instructions from Krishna. He was personally present on the battlefield. What about us? When we have doubts and concerns, how are we going to know what we should do? What is the answer to this question?
We should act as if Krishna is talking to us. Lord Krishna is talking to us through a bona fide guru.
Through our bona fide guru. So the spiritual master is a representation of Krishna. He is a manifestation. So the spiritual master's instructions are not different from the instructions of the Lord. Why? Because a devotee of the Lord is more intimately united with the Lord. And the super soul, the Paramatma, is present in the heart of the spiritual master as well. So the Paramatma prompts the spiritual master, and the spiritual master gives us instructions. Let's read the answer which Prabhupada gives in the purport.
A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now, one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? If one acts according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna, then the result will be the same.
Okay, let's read points from the purport.
Focus of learning, purport 18.57. Mood of servant. Act fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. No individual independence. Unaffected by profit and loss. Act only on behalf of the Master. Discharge his duty faithfully. How to exhibit that mood towards Krishna in his absence. Act according to the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's direction. Act under guidance of Krishna's representative. See significance of mat paraha. One has no goal save and expect acting to satisfy Krishna. D. Misuse of concept of devotional service. Doing something whimsical and offering the result to Krishna. Act according to order to Krishna, which comes through disciplined succession. Prime duty of life, spiritual master's order.
So mat paraha, one has no goal save and except acting to satisfy Krishna. So we don't have to satisfy anybody else. We don't have to satisfy our friends, our relatives, our children. We do our duties towards our families, but we don't have to do things to please them. It's not important to please, and the only person we need to please is Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, he explains, actually he quotes another Acharya. I forget the name of the Acharya whom he quotes now. But he quotes and he says, the Acharya says that if the whole world is against me, but Krishna is with me, then who cares for the whole world? On the other side, if the whole world glorifies me, but Krishna is not happy with me, then what is the use of that glorification? These are the this is how the Acharya thinks. This is how a devotee thinks. So one has no goal except to satisfy Krishna. If Krishna is satisfied, then automatically everybody else is satisfied. Why? Because when we satisfy Krishna, we are watering the root of the plant. The other point here, misuse of concept of devotional service, doing something whimsical and offering the results to Krishna. Now, somebody may say, okay, I'm good at gambling, so I will go to the gambling house and gamble and get some money, and I will use that money for the service to Krishna. So now this is something whimsical. Why it is something whimsical is because no spiritual master and no disciplic succession is going to permit that we can go and gamble, break the regulative principles, even if we are going to use that money in the service of Krishna. Still, it is a sinful activity and it is not going to be authorized by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we should not do something whimsical. We always should act under the instruction of Krishna, under the instruction of the spiritual master. 58.
Machitta sarvadurgani matprasadat tarishyasi atha chetvam ahankaran nashrosyasi vinangshasi.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
So in 57, Krishna mentioned 3 points that what in all activities we should depend on Krishna, always work under Krishna's protection, and always be fully conscious of him. Now, if we work according to what Krishna has stated in 57, these 3 points, then what is it that what will be the result for one who is following those instructions, and what will be the result of one who is not following those instructions is what Krishna is mentioning in 58. So if one works as per 1857, then he will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life. So we know that conditioned life, this materialistic life, material life brings in so many obstacles, so many anxieties, so many hassles. So Krishna says that if you work according to what he has stated in 57, then we will be able to overcome all those obstacles. But if we don't work under such consciousness, but we are acting through false ego, acting according to the bodily concept of life, then Krishna says we will be lost. We will not be liberated. We will not be free to act. So only under Krishna consciousness we can be free. We can be free from any reaction, good or bad. Now in the Mahabharata, there was this incident of Yudhishthir where he spoke half a lie. Yudhishthir was one person who had never spoken a lie in his entire lifetime. And during the Mahabharata war, because they wanted to put down Dronacharya somehow or the other, Krishna came up with his plan. And he told Yudhishthir that you tell Dronacharya that your son, not your son, I'm sorry, you just tell Dronacharya that Ashwadhama is dead. Now, Dronacharya's son's name is Ashwadhama, and Bhim had killed an elephant called Ashwadhama. So it's not a complete lie, it's a half lie, because he was made to believe that your son is dead, but actually he was only told that Ashwadhama is killed. Now, when Krishna told Yudhishthir to say this, now why did Krishna want Yudhishthir to say this is because prior to this, others conveyed this message, but Dronacharya said that no, only when Yudhishthir says this, I will believe it, because Yudhishthir has never spoken a lie. And therefore, Krishna instructed Yudhishthir to do this. Yudhishthir, when he received this instruction, he hesitated for one moment whether I should follow Krishna's instruction or no. Now, that one moment of hesitation caused that Yudhishthir's chariot should touch the ground. Yudhishthir's chariot never touched the ground before this. He is so righteous, so righteous. But when he hesitated for that one moment to follow Krishna's instruction, therefore his chariot touched the ground. Anyway, what is the point we are making here is, if we perform our activity in Krishna consciousness, then we will not be bound, then we will be free. So if Yudhishthir had to take any reaction for speaking that half a lie, that reaction will be negated by Krishna, because he has done that under the instruction of Krishna. So Yudhishthir doesn't have to pay for the reaction of that. Many people believe that Yudhishthir's chariot touched the ground because he spoke the half lie, because he took the reaction for speaking half a lie. But our acharyas explained that no, his chariot touched the ground because he hesitated to follow Krishna's instruction. And there was no reaction in him speaking half the lie, because Krishna says that if you work under my consciousness, then you will be free. You will not be bound. So Yudhishthira is not bound by any reaction, because what he did was under Krishna's instruction. Let's read this article.
Got big problems. Krishna's is bigger. When life problems overwhelm us, our vision becomes distorted. We start feeling that the problems are ultra big, bigger than even Krishna. Consequently, we become so preoccupied in coping with them that our spiritual practices become distracted. Gita wisdom helps us understand that resuming proper contemplation on Krishna is the first way to deal with any problem. The Bhagavad Gita 18.58 reminds us that if we become conscious of him, he will, by his grace, help us to cross over all problems. He is far bigger than any problem. For him, solving our biggest problem is no big deal. He can empower us to tackle or transcend it by one moment of illumination. Let me not tell Krishna how big my problems are. Let me tell my problems how big Krishna is.
Okay. Let's go to 59.
यदहङ्कारमाश्रित्य न योत्स्य इति मन्यसे मिथ्यैष व्यवसायस्ते प्रकृतिस्त्वां नियोक्ष्यति.
If you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare.
So what Krishna is saying here, that that he's telling Arjuna that it's your nature to fight. So therefore, even if you don't fight now, later, sooner or later, you will be engaged in warfare. Anyway, you will come back later and kill these people, because by nature he is a Kshatriya and nature cannot be changed. So Arjuna's natural eagerness to fight will be manifest at a later date, and he will come back and kill these people. So Krishna is saying that even if you do not fight now, according to my instruction, then you will be, later on, you will be engaged in warfare. Later on, again, anyway, you are going to have to fight.
स्वभावजेन कौन्तेय निबद्धस्वेन कर्मणा कर्तुं नेच्छसि यन्मोहान् करिष्यस्य वशोऽपितम्.
Under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction. But compelled by the work born of your own nature, you will act all the same, O son of Kunti.
So here again, Krishna continues to instruct all the conditioned souls to surrender unto him, because it is under their own interest. So he's telling Arjuna that you are declining to act now under my direction. But Krishna wants Arjuna to actually fight under his direction. Because otherwise, again, Krishna says the same thing, that compelled by work born of your own nature, because your nature is that of Kshatriya, you will act all the same. You will anyway, you are going to fight. Even if you don't fight now, you will come back again and you're going to fight these people and kill them. Now, what is the difference between the two? Anyway, Arjuna is going to kill, whether he kills now under Krishna's direction or he comes back and kills later. Either way, he is going to fight the war, isn't it? But Krishna wants, being Arjuna's well-wisher, being the well-wisher of his devotees, Krishna wants his devotees to work according to his instruction, which is in the well-being of his devotees. As well as Arjuna, he wants Arjuna to fight under his instruction. Let's read this article.
Krishna herein continues instructing all conditioned souls to surrender to him, because it is in their own interest. If we choose not to surrender to Krishna, however, it does not mean that we will be able to remain independent. All those who surrender and those who do not are controlled. The difference is that the surrendered souls are controlled and protected by Krishna, and the unsurrendered are forced to dance like marionettes, their strings pulled by illusion. So surrender unto me by H.G. Prabhu Bhurjasana Dasa.
So see, Krishna is saying that you will be compelled by the work born of your nature. So work we must do. Krishna is saying that if you refuse to work according to my instruction, then you will have to act according to Maya, according to material nature. So it's not that if we refuse to follow Krishna's instruction, it's not that now I refuse to be controlled by Krishna. So now I can become my own controller. I can become the maker of my own destiny. I can do what I like. No, if I refuse to work under Krishna's instruction, I will be forced to work under Maya. Either way, we have to accept the dominance, either Krishna or material nature. So this is the choice that we have to make. Do I want to work under Krishna's instruction? Otherwise, I will be forced to work under the laws of material nature. So either way, we are only puppets. So we choose to be humble. And if we refuse to be humble and follow Krishna's instruction, then we will be humbled by the laws of material nature. Let's read this question.
Whether or not Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, he will fight. Why then, chapter after chapter, has Krishna pushed Arjuna to fight? What was the necessity of Krishna's offering numerous instructions?
What is the answer to this question? We understand the question, right?
Yes. Because he has to act because if he'll act under Krishna's guidance and direction, he'll be liberated, and or else otherwise later on, if he without following Krishna's instructions or under Krishna's guidance, later he has to fight, and obviously he has to bear the consequences or the reactions.
Exactly. Yes, that exactly is the answer to this question. Let's read the answer here.
Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight in the proper consciousness, in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he told Arjuna to surrender unto him and fight on his order with devotion. Do it, Krishna explained, because I have already killed Bhishma, Karna, Drona, all these warriors. The armies have already been defeated and the battle has already been won. Krishna does not require Arjuna's material skill for victory, but he wants Arjuna to act with devotion as his instrument. Arjuna's devotion will be expressed by fighting on the battlefield. So surrender up unto me.
So this point here is that Krishna wants Arjuna to act with devotion, to act under his instruction. Because when Arjuna is going to fight under the instruction of Krishna, then Arjuna is working as an instrument of Krishna. So he doesn't take any reaction. But if he's going to come back and fight later, then as Mehak said that he will have to take a reaction because that is not under Krishna's instruction. And Krishna wants Arjuna to act with devotion because Krishna is a well-wisher of, actually he's a well-wisher of all the living entities, but he's also Bhakta Vatsala. He wants his devotees to act under his instructions. And when Arjuna fights the war, it is an expression of his bhakti to Krishna. Arjuna is fighting the war not for his own self-interest. He is not going to fight the war for his own material necessities or his greed, but he's fighting the war under Krishna's instruction. So Arjuna fighting the war would be an expression of Arjuna's bhakti towards Krishna, that, okay, I am executing your order. Bhakti means if we are devoted to someone, it means that we have to simply execute the instruction. That is what is bhakti. If I say that, oh, I'm a great devotee of such a person, but I don't want to follow the instruction, then where is the bhakti then, isn't it? Bhakti means we should be willing to follow the instruction. We have to accept the person's dominance over us and we take a lower position and just execute the instruction. So the progression from 40 to 55, which we saw in our previous class, Krishna explains the gradual way from karma to jnana, and then he takes the person to moksha. 56 to 58, Krishna is explaining bhakti yoga. So that is the rapid way, quick way. And 59 to 60, Krishna says that if you don't follow either, then you will be lost. Let's go to the next section. Here, Krishna is going to speak about more confidential knowledge, surrender to the super soul. Let us see 61.
ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया.
The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
So ultimately, who is controlling everyone? Who is controlling even illusion or material energy? Krishna is explaining in this verse. So Krishna is saying that he is situated in the heart of every living entity. And that super soul, as the super soul, he is directing the wanderings of all the living entities. And we living entities are seated as if on a machine. So the analogy here is that if the body is a machine, the body is a car, and the car has a driver and a passenger. The passenger wants to go to a particular place, has a desire to go to a particular place. So the driver directs the car, directs the body towards a particular destination, depending on what is the desire of the passenger. So actually, it's the super soul who is directing the wanderings of all the living entities. Ultimately, he is the master and he is the puppeteer. The Lord is the master and the Lord is the puppeteer. We are the puppets. He's the one who's pulling the strings. So irrespective of whether one is an Indian or American, rich or poor, Hindu, Muslim or Christian, and or Lord Brahma, whoever one may be, man or woman, one is directed by the super soul in the heart. Let's read this.
The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the super soul. As soon as a living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in a slow car, though the living entities, the drivers, may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control.
So in this analogy, the car is the body of the living entity. The passenger of the car is?
We, the soul.
Individual entity.
Yes. And the driver of the car is?
Super soul.
Super soul.
Very nice. So we have different cars, high speed cars, medium speed cars, and low speed cars. The high speed cars are the best material bodies. What kind of bodies are the best material bodies?
When we are at the youth, in our youth.
The youth is the best period during our
Yeah.
lifetime. Yes, very nice. But here we're talking about different kinds of bodies. So there are animal species, human species.
Human, obviously human.
Demigods,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
sages.
So demigods are the best material bodies, body of a demigod. Then average speed, what kind of bodies?
Human body.
Human,
Human, yes. And slow cars, least facilities,
Lower entities.
lower species.
lower species. Very nice. So animals, insects, birds, fishes. Yeah.
But Mataji, demigods also, like we tell no, like I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that demigods also can fall down, right? So in okay, they are in that heavenly planets, but still they have not reached the Vaikuntha or the Goloka. So they are still under the, they are enjoying the pleasures in those heavenly planets. So obviously their devotional services will not be as pure as a devotee's devotional service.
Yes, you're right. You're correct. But the body of a demigod is better than the body of a human being, because still they, I mean, as a demigod body, they have more powers, more potencies than a human being. We have limited powers. They have more powers than us. So why? Because one who has got a demigod body has done a lot of punya karmas in his previous lifetime. And in the heavenly planets, they have more association with exalted personalities. Here we have association with exalted personalities, but as well as we are dealing with not very exalted personalities, isn't it? But in the heavenly planets, or in the planets of the greater sages, because there is also Maharloka, Tapoloka, higher planetary systems where great sages are residing. So there is more association with exalted personalities being in the body of a demigod. And the demigods, they also have the potency to grant bhakti, to bless people with bhakti, which we do not have. So as a body of a demigod, that body is better than a human being body because they have more power.
Okay.
They are not pure. They are not pure, because if they were 100% pure devotees, as you said, then they would be in the spiritual realm. So because they are close to perfection, but they have not yet reached perfection, still they are in the they are higher than human beings. That's why they are in the higher planetary systems than us.
That means they have high probability to reach liberation than a devotee.
They have more facilities. Let's put it that way. They have more facilities. Probability depends on how much they take to bhakti. Now, an ordinary human being can take to bhakti and reach the spiritual realm before a demigod. It's just that they have more facilities than us.
Correct.
See, they can travel to any place according to their will. But we have to take a flight, we have to take a train, we have to take a bus. They can just reach any place. So in the body of a demigod, they can reach any place. If they want to go to a holy place, they want to go to Vrindavan, they want to go to Mathura, they want to go to Mayapur, they just go there. So the facility, they have better facilities than us.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now based on this, because Krishna says that he is directing the wanderings of the living entities, one may say, all right, Krishna is directing all that I am doing. So therefore, whatever mistake I make, that is Krishna's plan. Krishna is making me do it. But how do we understand this? Our mistakes are not Krishna's plan, but Krishna's plan accommodates our mistakes. Let's read this article.
Some people say everything is God's plan. Is it really? Are our mistakes His plan? If some people become alcoholics or commit suicide, did God plan that? they ruin their lives. Gita wisdom explained that Krishna has a plan for our ultimate well-being. He wants us to realize our spiritual identity and destiny, thereby relishing eternal love for him. For this plan to work, we need to play our part. How? By learning to love him and to live harmoniously with his will. If we act otherwise, giving in to our mind's short-sightedness, short-sighted impulses, those actions are our mistakes. Krishna did not want us to make those mistakes. Nonetheless, Krishna's plan is so resilient that it does not foiled by our lapses. It accommodates those wrong choices. To illustrate, consider the example of driving to a destination, a long and unfamiliar route, being guided by Google Maps. Suppose the map app tells us to turn right, but we turn left. The app does not quit. It immediately recalibrates and shows us a modified route. Similarly, if we make a mistake, Krishna does not abandon us. He still stays in our heart and keeps guiding us to come back on track. The Bhagavad Gita states, 18.61 states that he always accompanies us during our worldly wanderings. Of course, mistakes are not inconsequential. While driving, if we take a wrong turn, we prolong our drive. Similarly, if we make wrong choices, we delay our spiritual growth and may even have to incur karmic consequences. But still, we will never be deprived of Krishna's unfailing love and untiring guidance. Chaitanya Karandas.
So see how Krishna is so merciful, so loving. He never fails to guide us, just as how the Google Maps app, when the Google Maps say, okay, you take this turn, we take the opposite turn. Does the map say, oh, you fool, I told you to turn here, why did you turn that side? I'm not going to help you anymore. No, what the map does, again, it gives us another, okay, this is your new route from now here onwards. Okay, you take this turn and then you can reach your destination. And again, we take a wrong turn. Again, the Google map is going to guide us. So like that, the super soul, the Paramatma, is accompanying us life after life after life. He never leaves us. He never, the moment we left the material world, the Paramatma is being alongside with us in our hearts to guide us. Every time we take a wrong decision, still the Paramatma continues to guide us. When does the Paramatma leave us? Only when we go back to the spiritual realm. So the Supreme Lord, Krishna is so merciful that he is accompanying us even life after life after life. We make millions and trillions and quadrillion mistakes. Still, he does not give up on us. Still, he does not give up on us. Even when we do activities that are so abominable, let's say we get the body of a worm living in the stool, in that obnoxious place, that worm is in the stool, there also Krishna is accompanying us. There also Krishna is guiding us. So can we have a better friend, a more intimate friend than Krishna? We cannot really. It cannot, we can never have that kind of an intimate friend. 62.
Tameva sharanam gaccha sarvabhavena bharata tat prasadat param shantim sthanam prapyasi shashvatam.
O Son of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode.
So what is Krishna recommending? He is telling, oh Arjuna, surrender unto him. Surrender unto whom? Whom is Krishna talking about?
Surrender unto him, Krishna.
Yeah, but see, Krishna is talking about himself now in the third person. So he's talking about in 61, he spoke about the
super soul.
Yeah, in 61, he spoke about the super soul. So he's telling Arjuna that you surrender unto, here Krishna is talking about himself in the third person. So surrender unto the super soul. And who is the super soul? Super soul is none other than Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. Kshirodakashayi Vishnu comes from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. No, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Garbhodakashayi Vishnu comes from
Mahavishnu.
Mahavishnu,
Mahavishnu comes from
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
who is?
Lord
Lord
Vishnu,
Krishna.
Yes. So,
Mahavishnu.
so this instruction, surrender unto him utterly, is none other than surrender to Krishna. Let's go to 16.
इति ते ज्ञानमाख्यातं गुह्याद् गुह्यतरं मया विमृश्यैतद्दशेषेण यथेच्छसि तथा कुरु.
Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do.
So Krishna explained confidential knowledge when he spoke about Brahma Bhuta, which we discussed in the beginning of this today's session. And then now he says that I have thus explained to you more confidential knowledge. What was that more confidential knowledge? Knowledge about the super soul. And then what does Krishna say? Deliberate on this fully and then yathechasi tatha kuru. Then you do what you wish to do. So Krishna is not telling Arjuna, I have spent 45 minutes of my time to explain this to you. I have given you my time and effort and just do what I'm telling you to do. Don't waste my time. No, Krishna is saying now you deliberate on this, deliberate on what I have spoken to you, and now you can do as you like. It's up to you what you want to do. Krishna is telling Arjuna. So Krishna is not forcing Arjuna to take a decision. He's saying now it's up to you whatever you want to do. Because remember, the Lord never interferes with the minute free will of the living entity.
The Lord has.
Now let's go to this slide.
Section 8. The most confidential knowledge of all. Become a pure devotee of Krishna. Always think of Krishna. Become Krishna's devotee. Worship Krishna. Offer all homage unto Krishna and thus come to Krishna. Surrender to Krishna. Do not fear sinful reactions.
सर्वगुह्यतमं भूयः शृणु मे परमं वचः इष्टोऽसि मे दृढमिति ततो वक्ष्यामि ते हितम्.
Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit.
Now this verse is a more special verse because here Krishna is using two superlatives, two expressions of great praise, and he's using two expressions of great affection. What are the two superlatives that he's using here? When he says Sarva Guhya Tamam, the most confidential knowledge, and then he says Paramam Vacha, the supreme instruction. So these are the two superlatives, two expressions of great praise that Krishna is using in this verse. And two expressions of great affection is what? When he says Ishta Asi Me, you are very dear to me, he's telling Arjuna. And then he says Te Hitam, I'm speaking this for your benefit. Te Hitam, it's for your benefit. So see two expressions of great affection. So therefore, this is the only verse where we can see these four things combining in one particular shloka. So Krishna is saying that because you are my very dear friend, I'm speaking to you this most supreme instruction, this most confidential knowledge of all. And why is he saying this? Because he says this is for your benefit only. Therefore, you hear from me. What is this most supreme instruction, most confidential knowledge is what Krishna is going to speak in 65 and 66.
मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि सत्यं ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे.
Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend.
So these two lines, Man Mana Bhava Mat Bhakto Mat Yaji Mam Namaskuru, he has spoken in chapter 9 also. And chapter 9 title was The Most Confidential Knowledge. So this instruction, this verse, he has already spoken before, and it's the second time he is repeating this in the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So what is the supreme instruction? Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Now, Krishna doesn't stop at this. Then he makes a promise. He says that I promise that if you do this, if you do man mana bhava mat bhakto mat yaji mam namaskuru, then you will come to me without fail. See, the last two lines of the shloka of chapter 9 and chapter 18 varies a little bit, but the meaning is the same. Still, there is a difference between 934 and 1865. What is the difference? In 934, when Krishna spoke this verse, the emphasis was on our obligation, what we should do. But when he speaks this verse in the last chapter, the emphasis is more on Krishna's love and promise, because here in chapter 18, he says that I promise you this. I promise that you will come to me without fail. And why do I promise this? Is because you are my very dear friend, Krishna says. So here the emphasis is more on Krishna's love and promise.
Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchah.
Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear.
So this is the most quoted verse of the Bhagavad Gita. It's the most famous verse. What is Krishna saying? Sarva dharmam parityaja. Abandon all varieties of religion. So Krishna is saying, now Krishna has spoken so many yoga systems. No, he has spoken karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. He is saying now just forget everything. All that I have taught you so far, just forget it. Why is Krishna saying just forget it? Because now he says that, he's been speaking to Arjuna. And Arjuna is still contemplating, he's still deliberating, and he's feeling compassion for Arjuna. So he says, okay, Arjuna, just forget everything. I'm giving you one instruction, simply surrender unto me. Just surrender unto me. Just do what I'm telling you to do. There is nothing else that you have to worry about. There is nothing that you have to fear. Krishna says that I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. So Arjuna was concerned that how can I kill them? I will take the reaction of killing my spiritual master. How can I do this? How can I do this? So Krishna is just saying, forget everything. Don't worry about anything else. Just follow my instruction. I shall take care of all the sinful reactions. So Krishna just absorbs all the sinful reaction. Krishna is so merciful when we surrender, it takes just one moment of complete surrender to Krishna, and all the past reactions, all the nonsense that we have done in the past millions of lifetimes, everything is just absorbed. Everything is just taken away by Krishna, because remember, Krishna can override the rules of the game for his devotee. So Krishna says that ma suchaha, do not worry, do not fear. There is nothing else to worry about. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Say in the pastime of Jagai and Madai in the Chaitanya Leela, Jagai and Madai, they were two drunkards, and the description given is that there was no sinful activity that these two had not performed. Every possible sin that one can commit, they had committed. All kinds of nonsense that they had done. But when they surrendered to Lord Chaitanya, everything was just taken away. So when Yamaraj heard that all their, when Yamaraj's assistant Chitragupt, he was writing and he was finding it difficult to keep pace, difficult to keep a record of their sinful activities, because they were doing so much sin, that the entire pit was filled with the accounts of their sinful activities. And when Yamaraj heard that everything is gone in a flash in one moment because he surrendered to Lord Chaitanya, even Yamaraj fainted. So that is the power of surrendering to the Lord. He is so supremely merciful. Let's now go to the next section. Here Krishna is going to explain. Now, okay, Krishna has ended his instructions to Arjuna, and now he's going to say, whom can we give this knowledge to? Can we give this knowledge to anyone and everyone, or there are some rules and regulations that we have to apply? And then Krishna speaks about what are the benefits for the person who teaches the Bhagavad Gita, and what are the benefits for the person who learns the Bhagavad Gita. This we will see in this section.
Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na cha shushrushave vachyam na cha mam yobhyasuyati.
This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, not to one who is envious of me.
So Krishna says that this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita should not be explained to what categories of people? One, those who are not austere. Not austere, those who are not modest, those who are not simple, those who are not sober and plain. Then Krishna says, do not explain this knowledge to those who are not devoted to whom? To Krishna's service. And three, don't speak this knowledge to a person who is envious of the Lord. Now, what happens if we try to explain this knowledge to somebody who is envious of Krishna? And we glorify Krishna, we give him the knowledge of Krishna. What will happen? Because he's envious of Krishna, he will end up committing more offenses, because he's going to say so many things, so many unfavorable things for Krishna to defend his own stance of him not liking Krishna because of envy. So he will end up committing more offenses towards Krishna. So therefore, there is no point in explaining this to them. Another thing is, they will not understand. A person who is not austere, who is not devoted to Krishna's service, who is envious of Krishna, such a person is not going to be able to understand this knowledge also. So Krishna says that do not explain this knowledge to these categories of people. But sometimes when devotees go on book distribution, or when sometimes an open class is held, maybe there are people in the audience who are not austere, who are not devoted to Krishna, but they are there in the audience, or sometimes the book distributor may end up giving a Bhagavad Gita to such a person. So how to explain that? The explanation there is, a devotee of the Lord is more merciful than the Lord. We know that Lord Chaitanya, when he came in the mood of a devotee, although he is Krishna himself, but his mood is that of a devotee, he gave us the Maha Mantra without any rules or regulations attached, no strings attached, anybody can chant. So a devotee of the Lord is more merciful than the Lord.
Ya idam paramam guhyam madbhakteshvabhidhasyati bhaktim mahi param kritva mame vaishyatya samshayah.
For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me.
So here Krishna is explaining what is the benefit for one who teaches this Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that for such a person, pure devotional service is guaranteed. Now, when one engages in devotional service, that is very powerful, very potent. Why? Because by engaging in devotional service, by engaging in pure devotional service, one can bind Krishna. One can bring the supreme controller under his control. Because we know from Damodar Leela how Krishna agreed to be bound by Yashoda. When Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, many of Krishna's potencies were becoming manifest. Krishna has unlimited potencies. So all his Shaktis, all his potencies were coming, and they were standing there, preventing Yashoda from tying the rope. For example, Krishna's strength potency. Now, Krishna's strength potency does not want Krishna to be bound, because who can be more powerful, or who can have more strength than Krishna? So like that, all of Krishna's potencies prevented Yashoda from tying those ropes. He's the supreme controller. Who can control him? Who can bind him? But finally, one of Krishna's potency, one of Krishna's Shaktis manifested there, and all the other Shaktis immediately disappeared. What was that potency of Krishna?
Mercy.
The mercy potency. Yes, mercy potency. When Krishna's mercy potency manifested, all other potencies disappeared. So by Krishna's mercy, then Yashoda was able to tie the ropes. So the Lord agrees to come under the control of his devotees. So when we engage in devotional service, that is the key to bringing Krishna under our control. So that's why it's not, it's this opportunity to engage in devotional service is not given to anyone and everyone. And when we receive an opportunity to engage in pure devotional service, then we have to grab it with both the hands, because it is that much more special. So Krishna says that one who teaches this knowledge, for that person, pure devotional service is guaranteed. And at the end, he will come back to me, Krishna says.
न च तस्मान् मनुष्येषु कश्चिन्मे प्रियकृत्तमः भविता न च मे तस्मान् अन्यः प्रियतरो भुवि.
There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
So who is the most dear servant to Krishna?
Unalloyed devotee.
Okay. More than that?
Arjuna.
Ar-
Huh?
The one who teaches.
One who
Arjuna.
teaches, yes, because
Teaches.
remember 69 is a continuation of 68. In 68, Krishna is saying one who explains the supreme secret, for him the pure devotional service is guaranteed and he will come back to me. And then Krishna says, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So one who teaches this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is the most dear servant of Krishna. And nor will there ever be one more dear to Krishna than a person who teaches this knowledge. So one who teaches benefits. Now let us see how a person who learns the Gita also benefits.
अध्येष्यते च य इमं धर्म्यं संवादमावयोः ज्ञानयज्ञेन तेनाहम् इष्टस्यामिति मे मतिः.
And I declare that he who studies this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
Yes, when we study the Gita, when we
ours.
learn the Gita, when we read and flip through the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, then we are worshipping the Lord. We are worshipping Krishna by our intelligence. So we have spent the past 18 months or so in trying to learn, trying to study the Gita. So every time we have learned the Gita, every time we have studied, every time we have attempted the exam, submitted our answer papers, we have worshipped the Lord by our intelligence. There is more for one who learns the Gita.
श्रद्धावाननसूयश्च शृणुयादपि यो नरः सोऽपि मुक्तः शुभान् लोकान् प्राप्नुयात् पुण्यकर्मणाम्.
And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell.
So another blessing for one who is a student of the Bhagavad Gita, the person will be free from sinful reactions. And he will attain to the spiritual realm. Krishna says he will attain the auspicious planets where the pious dwell. So he will attain the higher destination. Now let's come to the next section, section 10, where Arjuna expresses that now he is, yes, fixed up and he is finally convinced to fight the war.
कच्चिदेतच्छ्रुतं पार्थ त्वयैकाग्रेण चेतसा कच्चिदज्ञानसम्मोहः प्रणष्टस्ते धनञ्जय.
O son of Partha, O conqueror of wealth, have you heard this with an attentive mind? And are your ignorance and illusions now dispelled?
So Krishna is concerned. Okay, Arjuna, have you understood what I have said? Have you heard attentively? Is your ignorance, is your illusion now gone? So if Arjuna had said, no, my dear Lord, my illusion is not yet gone, I do not understand, then Srila Prabhupada explains that Krishna was ready, he was willing to explain the entire Bhagavad Gita all over again to Arjuna. He would have explained even a small section, a particular section if Arjuna wanted. And if Arjuna wanted, he could have even explained the entire Bhagavad Gita. He would have repeated the whole thing all over again for Arjuna.
Arjuna uvacha nashto moha smritirlabdha tvat prasadatmayachyuta स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव.
Arjuna said, My dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy. I am now firm and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions.
So now Arjuna is finally convinced and he says that, yes, I am prepared to act according to your instructions. So he's now prepared to execute the order of Krishna. Now, this verse 73 marks the end of Arjuna Krishna Samvad. The conversation between the two comes to an end with verse number 73. The last 5 verses of the chapter, the last 5 verses of the Gita are spoken by Sanjaya. So now we see Arjuna is always on a liberated platform. He's always a self-realized soul. Before the war also, he's on the liberated platform and he's a self-realized soul. He's a pure devotee. All these questions, all these doubts is just a stage play, just like a leela that is played out by the actors for the benefit of us, for our benefit. So therefore, this conversation has happened between Arjuna and Krishna. So the internal reason is that this is only a stage play. And it's not that Arjuna was under illusion. Arjuna actually can never be under an illusion. Arjuna is a pure devotee, and Arjuna is that kind of a pure devotee, is that personality whose chariot was personally pulled by Krishna. Krishna is not going to pull the chariot of an ordinary person. Definitely he's not going to come and pull my chariot. So Arjuna is that special personality whose chariot was pulled by Krishna. So definitely he's exalted. Definitely he's a pure devotee. But for the sake of us, therefore, he played the role of coming under illusion. Now, coming to this external setup. Now, by this verse here, one can say that yes, Arjuna now has attained self-realization. Now he is on the liberated platform. Now he's on the liberated platform. Previously, he was on the conditioned platform, externally speaking. So this is a refutation. This verse is a refutation, Srila Prabhupada explains, of the Mayavad philosophy. Because what is the Mayavad philosophy? The Mayavad philosophy is that as long as we are in the conditioned state, then we have forgotten our powers. We have forgotten that we are equal to God. We have forgotten that we are God. But as soon as the illusion is gone, as soon as we regain our memory, as soon as we come on the liberated platform, then now we are equal to God. So therefore, they glorify and they greet each other. Mayavad philosophers, they address each other as you are God, I am God, we are all God. But see, even though Arjuna is now on the liberated platform, even then he's accepting the dominance of Krishna by saying that I am prepared to act according to your instruction. So even when we are on the liberated stage, even when we come to the stage of self-realization, even when we attain moksha, even then we are under the dominance of Krishna. Even then we don't become equal to the Lord. This is an important point that Srila Prabhupada explains. Now coming to the whole conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, how did this samvad begin? This samvad began in 1.21, where Arjuna asked Krishna to bring the chariot between the two armies because he wanted to see who are the people who have gathered here to fight. And then it ends with Arjuna saying that I am prepared to act according to your instructions. So what happens? The conversation begins by Arjuna telling Krishna, you do my will. You take my chariot. So Krishna has to do what Arjuna wants. So it began with Arjuna telling Krishna, you do my will. And it ends with Arjuna telling Krishna, I will do your will. I am willing to act according to your instructions. So this is another important point. Now we come to the last 5 shlokas where Sanjaya is making some predictions.
Sanjaya Uvacha Ityaham Vasudevasya Parthasya cha Mahatmanah Samvadamimam Ashrosham Adbhutam Romaharshanam.
Sanjaya said, Thus have I heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end.
So Sanjay is feeling so much ecstasy that his hair is standing on end after he has heard this great message. There are 8 symptoms of ecstasy of devotional service. So one of those 8 symptoms is standing of the hair on end, and that's what Sanjay is now experiencing.
व्यासप्रसादाच्छ्रुतवान् एतद्गुह्यमहं परम् योगं योगेश्वरात् कृष्णात् साक्षात् कथयतः स्वयम्.
By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna.
So now Sanjay is feeling grateful, thankful to his spiritual master, Vyasa. So he says, Vyasa Prasada, Vyasa Prasada. So by the mercy of Vyasa, he says that I have been able to hear these confidential talks. So Sanjay is not saying that because I was qualified or because I'm the blessed one, because I qualified myself, because I'm sincere, because I've done my devotional service, therefore I've heard this knowledge. No, he is giving the credit to his spiritual master, Vyasadeva. This is how a disciple always thinks, that whatever success, whatever good fortune is there is because of the mercy of my spiritual master. So he says, by this mercy of my spiritual master only, I have been able to hear these confidential talks. Remember, it was Vyasadeva who gave Sanjay the divine vision by which he was able to hear and see the war live on the battlefield, although he was in the palace of Dhritarashtra.
राज स्मृत्य संस्मृत्य संवादं इममद्भुतम् केशवार्जुनयोः पुण्यं हृष्यामि च मुहुर्मुहुः.
O King, as I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, I take pleasure, being thrilled at every moment.
So he is feeling thrill at every moment, So Krishna consciousness is not, or spiritual life is not boring as most materialists think. Krishna consciousness is a constant adventure, and we see how, as we advance more and more, as we chant the holy names, as we engage in devotional service, how Krishna reciprocates, and we go through so much of thrill in every moment. Srila Prabhupada explains that the result of Krishna consciousness is that one becomes increasingly enlightened and he enjoys life with a thrill, not only for some time, but at every moment. So Krishna consciousness helps us to stay high forever. It's not, see, when one takes artificial intoxicants or drugs, one can stay high, one can feel a thrill, but it's only momentary. Then later on, what happens? The head is paining and we are not able to get up in the morning, and we've wasted so many hours, so many days of our life. We feel heavy, isn't it? But Krishna consciousness helps us, is that kind of I mean, it's let's say, quote unquote, it's like a drug that helps us to stay high forever. It's not something that is going to come down. So it is a thrill. Krishna consciousness is a constant adventure, and devotees who are constantly chanting, who are constantly engaging in devotional service, those who go out on book distribution, those who preach, they come through so many experiences where they see how Krishna reciprocates with them. So it's a constant adventure, and it's a very thrilling life. It's not boring.
तच्च संस्मृत्य संस्मृत्य रूपमत्यद्भुतं हरेः विस्मयो मे महान् राजन् हृष्यामि च पुनः पुनः.
O King, as I remember the wonderful form of Lord Krishna, I am struck with wonder more and more, and I rejoice again and again.
So what is this wonderful form that Sanjaya has seen of Krishna that he's talking about?
All the 8 opulences?
Vishwarupa.
The Vishwarupa, yes, the universal form. Krishna has shown the universal form on the battlefield. So he's saying that now Sanjaya also was able to see that universal form. And remember when Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna, Krishna said that no one has ever seen this form before. First time Krishna is manifesting that form, especially for Arjuna. And Sanjaya was able to see the form. So he's saying now he's remembering that form, and he's saying that when I remember that wonderful form, then he's struck with wonder more and more, and he's feeling Rishyami. He's saying I'm enjoying. Puna Puna. Repeatedly he's enjoying, Sanjaya says.
Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara Tatra Shri Vijayor Bhutir Dhruvanitir Matir Mama Om Tatsaditi Srimad Bhagawad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Moksha Sannyasa Yogo Nama Ashtadashodhyayah.
Wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
So this is the last verse of the 18th chapter, also the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita. And Sanjay is making a prediction. What is a prediction? He says that wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Arjuna, there is opulence, victory, power, and morality, extraordinary power and morality. The Bhagavad Gita began with Dhritarashtra Uvacha, where Dhritarashtra is inquiring about his children and the children of the Pandavas, and he's eager to know the outcome of the war. So Sanjaya is telling him now that victory is on the side of the Pandavas. So Sanjaya makes a prediction that definitely it's the Pandavas who are going to emerge victorious. Why? Because wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there will certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality, Sanjaya says. Now, when we okay, here Arjuna is being referred to by the name Dhanurdhara by Sanjaya. Dhanurdhara means
the carrier of the bow and arrow.
The carrier of the bow and arrow. Now in 1.29, Arjuna said that his bow Gandiva is slipping. So that Gandiva is slipping from his shoulders. And you can see in the picture how Arjuna is completely disoriented, and the Gandiva is not on his shoulders anymore. Definitely he does not look like he's going to fight. See, you can see in the picture the bow is on the chariot, it's not on his shoulders. But in 78 he is being referred to as Dhanurdhara. Dhanurdhara means what? Right now the Dhanur is on him. He has lifted his bow, he has lifted his Gandiva, and is all set to fight. So when the conversation began, his Gandiva was down. When the conversation has ended, his Gandiva is with him. He's ready to fight. Now, what does this Gandiva refer to? This Gandiva actually represents our determination in our Krishna consciousness, our determination to execute our daily sadhana, our determination to carry on in our spiritual life. Now, when we feel down, when we feel out, when we feel, see, when we take to devotional service, when we take to Krishna consciousness, when we are trying to engage in spiritual activities, what happens is Maya does not play nice. She does her service to perfection. So she is going to create so many obstacles, so many hindrances in our carrying out our sadhana. So that Gandiva board refers to our determination to carry on with our spiritual practices. Now, when we feel down and out, and if we feel defeated, if we turn to the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, if we turn to Krishna's instructions, if we flip through the shlokas of the instructions of what Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita, then that will help us again to pick up that Gandiva bow. It will help us to again be determined to fight our own battles, our own war in life, because we have to deal with so many things. Now, when we take to spiritual life, there are some things that we need to sacrifice. there are people, other people, sometimes our relatives, our own children or our own life partners may not be favorable in our Krishna consciousness. They may create so many obstacles. So many people make fun of us. And so many people may think that, oh, you are boring life. Why don't you just enjoy life? So many things we have to deal with. So we have to be determined. Determination is very, very important quality to have in our spiritual life. Come what may, I continue in my sadhana. I continue in my spiritual practices, because remember, the only person we need to please is Krishna. Nobody else matters. Nobody else matters. So this Gandiva represents our determination. And when we feel our determination is slacking, we are not feeling so determined, we are not feeling so enthusiastic, we take the shelter of the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, and then our determination is back on track. So Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, Arjuna's illusion is now gone and he's acting according to Krishna's instruction. Krishna, the driver of countless universes, is driving the chariot of Arjuna. So see, you can see Krishna is driving Arjuna's chariot, and he's a driver of countless universes, but he has agreed to take the subordinate position for his pure devotee. And Arjuna is all set to fight. He's all set to execute the instruction of Krishna. Let's read the chapter summary.
Summary, chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation, verse 1. The 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is both a synopsis and the conclusion of all the Gita's teachings. Since the Gita stresses the renunciation of material activities and engagement in a spiritual elevation, Arjuna asked Krishna to explain definitely the purpose of renunciation, tyaga, and of the renounced order of life, sannyasa. Verses 2 to 12 in reply, Krishna reiterates that renunciation does not mean giving up all actions, since this is impossible for the embodied soul. It means rather giving up fruitative actions and instead performing prescribed duties without attachment to their results. For those who are not renounced the fruits of action, desirable, undesirable, and mixed, occurs after death. Whereas for the renounced, there are no such results to suffer or enjoy. Thus, a wise renouncer is liberated from the bondage of karma. Verses 13 to 18. Krishna then explains how one can act without material reactions. He cites Sankhya philosophy, which delineates 5 factors that contributes to the accomplishment of all actions, while the place of action, the performer, the senses, the endeavor, and the supersoul. One who thinking himself the exclusive factor in actions, not considering the other factors, especially the supersoul, the final cause, is in ignorance and becomes entangled by the fruits of his work. But when one acts according to the direction of the supersoul without personally motivated desires, his actions do not entail material reactions. Krishna thus indicates to Arjuna that if Arjuna acts according to his directions, Arjuna will not be the actual slayer, nor will he suffer the consequences of killing in the battlefield. Verses 19-40. The 3 modes of nature predominates in different aspects of human psychology and endeavor. Knowledge, action, workers, intelligence, determination, and happiness. Each have 3 types as regulated by the 3 modes. Krishna systematically analyzes these. Verses 41 to 48. According to the material modes, one has assumed one conforms to one of the 4 occupational divisions of human society: Brahmanas, teachers and priests; Kshatriyas, ruler and warriors; Vaishyas, farmer, traders, etc., and Shudras, laborers. Krishna enumerates the respective qualities and the duties of each of the 4 social divisions, varnas, and explains that by adhering to the duties prescribed by one's own occupational division, and by offering the result of one's work to the Lord, one can attain perfection. By working in accordance with his social duty, which is determined by the modes of nature, the conditioned soul can ultimately transcend the modes. Therefore, it is in Arjuna's best interest to act according to Kshatriya's principles and fight in the battle for Krishna's satisfaction. Verses 49. Krishna concludes that one can attain the highest perfection of renunciation by control of the mind and by complete detachment from material things and material enjoyment. Verses 50 to 54, Krishna next explains the stage following renunciation, attainment of Brahman, the preliminary joyfulness resulting from freedom from material desire and duality. In that state, Krishna says, one achieves pure devotional service unto me. Can you move, please, Mataji? Verses 55, Krishna then imparts to Arjuna the decisive conclusions of all his teaching. The ultimate duty of the jiva is to surrender unto him in pure transcendental love and devotion. Only by devotion can Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, be understood. By understanding Krishna, one can enter into the kingdom of God. Verses 56-58, acting always under his supreme protection, always conscious of him, his devotee transcends all obstacles of conditional life and reaches the spiritual kingdom by his grace. Verses 59-60, Krishna warns Arjuna that even if he neglects his divine instructions and under the influence of illusion avoids his duty, he will still be compelled to fight by his conditioning as Kshatriya. Verses 61-62, realizing Krishna as the super soul in the heart, the supreme controller and the director of wanderings of all living entities, Arjuna should fully surrender unto him and thus transcendental peace and attain the eternal abode. Verses 63-64. After instructing Arjuna to deliberate on this very confidential knowledge that is surrendered to Krishna's form as super soul, Krishna imparts the most confidential part of knowledge, the supreme instruction, the essence and conclusion of the Gita. Verses 65-66. One must relinquish all religious process and duties. Otherwise, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, the socio-religious duties of the social orders, attainment of the Brahman and Paramatma, etc., and simply surrender unto Krishna as his pure devotee in eternal, transcendental, loving service, the eternal and supreme dharma. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear friend. Give up all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Verses 67. In the next verse, Krishna states the qualification for understanding the Gita. The hearer must be austere, devoted, non-envious, and engaged in Krishna service. Verses 68-69. One who imparts Krishna's teachings is Krishna's most dear servant and attains pure devotion to him. Verses 70-71. One who studies the Gita worships me by his intelligence, and one who hears his teachings with faith is freed from all sins. Verses 72-73. In the final climax to the narrative of Arjuna's dilemma, Krishna inquires, have you heard this with your mind at perfect attention? And are your ignorances and illusion now dispelled? Arjuna confidently answers, my dear Krishna, O infallible one, my illusion is now gone. I have regained my memory by your mercy, and now I am steady and free from doubt, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. verses 74 to 78. In a brief epilogue, Sanjay, who has been narrating the entire conversation to Dhritarashtra, rejoices in ecstasy at having heard the sacred dialogue. His hair standing on end in joy, he concludes, wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion.
So with this, by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we come to the end of chapter 18 and as well as to the end of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Srimad Bhagavad
Jai.
Gita ki
Jai.
jai. We would
Hari
like
bol.
to especially thank Srila Prabhupada because as the text here says, so many years of education, yet no school, no college or institution taught us how to love Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for teaching us how to love Krishna. On that note, we end our classes. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So much gratitude, Mataji. Once again, I had the opportunity. I did both. I just want to, I think I came back for two things. One was such a beautiful small miracle. I shouldn't say small, a miracle happened. After we finished the first session, my neighbor, they are very old and they have an apple tree. And she told me last week that they have lots of apples in their garden. And if I want to make some pickles, then I should come by. But I was quite busy, so didn't get the chance. And today after, finishing and all, and I finished giving the water to the garden. And suddenly I thought, maybe I should go around and pick it up rather than delay. And when I went there and just met that uncle is almost 93, 94, bedridden, and auntie is almost 85 plus, and they have daughter visiting from US. So I just had a conversation, and as I was talking to them, they had a smaller kind of a, we call it a Thakurji ka small, I don't know, I'll explain I'll show you. We call it kind of where you keep all the God pictures, not the pictures, but it's like a small mandir, but handmade mandir sort of. And then there were some statues were fallen down. So I just got up and I started straightening them. And I saw there was a lot of dust also. So I was just thinking, and then suddenly that auntie tells me, can you take all of them to your place because you can take care of them? And I just couldn't believe, because these are very old and ancient kind of, because my grandmother has given me one that is Laddu Gopalji, and my grandmother was living just about an hour and a half away from Vrindavan and a place called Hathras. So she was a great ardent devotee of Lord Krishna. And of course, she had like this in her home. And this is like, what do you call it in Hindi?
Asana.
Singhasan, asan or singhasan. So she had like this way, bigger one, and beautiful carving and all metal, that is pital, which is very rare now. So this auntie gave it to me, this, and I couldn't believe, like they had beautiful demigod statue. And I don't know this one. I just thought of to ask you, this is all pital. Nowadays we get only metal, brass. So I don't know which one is this. I thought I'll ask you. That's why I came back. I said, no, this is, everyone can share it and see. So this looks like a Lord Krishna to me, but I don't know because of this mukut. But I thought I'll still ask you.
I'm not able to figure out from here. It's not clear.
Yeah, I'll take a close up maybe and send, but there are two of them together. And I don't know. I have never seen this. Very, very rare.
Okay. Yeah,
And
you
then
send a picture, then maybe I can.
Yeah, I will. And then I just couldn't believe my luck. It's like as if I have hit a golden, I have got a lotto. 649, more than that, because it is such a beautiful Singhasan with all this. So I don't know what was it, but I knew somehow that my heart was connected to that super soul, and that super soul conveyed to them, because I just felt in my heart, there's so much dust and it's falling down. And then she just told me at once, and I thought this must be in her temple. And now they can't go up and down. So they have come to the same floor and they have transferred their temple also down. So, and I wanted to tell that why you're giving away, but then I thought, no, this is what super God, Lord Krishna's wishes. So I better take it and don't say no to that. So that was such a beautiful, empowering moment for me that I just, my hairs are standing up, not only just by listening the last chapters of the verses of the Bhagavad Gita, because that's what I felt when I was reading the translation this morning. I just felt so much emotion, but I just tried to control while reading it. And now today, when I was reading again, I felt the same. And when I saw this was like, as you were telling, that there are a lot of people having a miracle. So I thought I'll share this miracle also.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing this. And as we discussed, Krishna consciousness is an adventure. The Lord reciprocates. The Lord, and as we see more and more how the Lord reciprocates, then we feel that much more joy. And only a person, a devotee, can understand that joy of devotional service. It's you cannot explain it to a gross materialist. They will never be able to understand that. Yeah, so very nice story. Thank you for sharing, Mataji. And yes, you have to take care of them nicely now, because they have come to you because they want you to take care of them. For some reason, they were not able to take care. So now they have come to you. So now you have this added responsibility of taking care of them. It's their desire. That's why they have come to you now.
And what a beautiful day when they have decided to come, and that is very joyful moment for me. But if you have time, maybe I can talk about those two questions, but otherwise I don't want to take away the time of others who have been listening, and I can always hear you or talk to you after the class, whichever one you prefer.
Those two questions is actually connected to the question paper. We have to be referring to the question paper to answer your question. So it's better that we do it offline, because
sure, I have the questions with me. Definitely.
We cannot
yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. I understand.
Okay. So I was telling slot 1 students that next class, there will be next Saturday. We would, we need to have a session, not next Saturday, but we need to have one session where we are going to discuss our future course of action. And also we are going to discuss the feedback and what kind of changes we can incorporate, who is taking what kind of service. So we need to have one Zoom session where we can discuss all this together. And it's going to be now a joint session. We are going to have only one class in the henceforward in the morning, because that's the time that suits people in this part of the world as well as people in India. And 27th is the date that we decided in slot 1. So 27th August, we will have this joint session, which will determine what we are going to do in future, how we go about things. So we will try to incorporate a few changes depending on what you all have suggested. So please mark that date, 27th August, 10:30 a.m. Chile time. I hope that's okay. I hope all of you can join in the morning. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
What about Mehek and Harman?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. So congratulations.
I think I might come a bit late, but yeah.
You'll come a little late. Why?
I have a class at like 9 to 11, so.
Oh, so you'll miss half an hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe even 9 to 12, depends on the, I have to check the calendar.
Okay. So in that case, the thing is that in India, it will be 8 p.m. I could have postponed Chile time to 11 to, from 11:30 onwards. Doesn't make a difference to us here in Chile. But for those in India, it becomes very late. It's 8 p.m. there already by the time it's 10:30 here. So that's the issue here. But yeah, you try your best, Harman. Join as early as you can. And then whatever you miss, then please watch the recording.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So congratulations to all of you on your graduation. Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the graduate study So now that we have completed the Gita, all of you are now graduates. Congratulations to all of you on your graduation of Vedic studies. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered to be the postgraduate study of Vedic knowledge. But whether we do Bhagavatam or not, or we do some other book, we will discuss in the session on the 27th. So what I will do is I will create one WhatsApp group now where both slots can join in, and we will dissolve the slot 1 and slot 2 groups. So there will be no more 2 groups anymore. Okay. Anything else we need to discuss?
Lots of gratitude to you. You have been our bona fide guru. That's what I
I'm not a
keep
guru, I'm only a
thinking.
servant of the guru. I'm just trying to
Yes,
fulfill the
but
instruction of my
he
spiritual.
chose you to be our guru. So
You
by
are our,
thanking you, we are thanking the super
Yes,
soul.
Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for your participation. It's a very nice group. I forgot to say this in slot 1. But this particular group that Krishna sent me, we've not had a single troublemaker. You know, normally when you give classes, there will be at least one person who's a troublemaker in the group, purposely ask questions, purposely challenging the speaker, you know, purposely bringing up things that are not bona fide. But by Krishna's mercy, by my Guru Maharaj's mercy, Krishna sent me very nice, sincere. So I'm very grateful to all of you as well for coming back class after class after class. Determination. Today we spoke about determination. So it requires a lot of determination to swim against the current and attend these classes so regularly. And so thank you all very much for your sincerity as well. It's been a pleasure, this journey. I'm very, very glad that we have been able to finish this course despite all kinds of obstacles that Maya puts in our way. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you,
Take
Mataji.
care and
Hare
see
Krishna.
you will come now. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I have a question
Yeah.
about this. So you mentioned that Arjuna, obviously he was self-realized, but Krishna created this illusion during this Kurukshetra war, where he still had these questions. But obviously Arjuna was self-realized, but this was just created by Krishna so that the Gita is taught by, again reiterated by Krishna himself one more time to Arjuna, to his dearest devotee. So so now you mentioned that it was he explained Gita in 45 minutes. How long did the Kurukshetra war last?
18 days.
So he was not talking like, he was like talking in bit like on each day some verses.
No. The entire conversation was on the first day before the war began.
Okay. Right. Because then he decided to
Then
fight
only
the
he
war.
decided to fight the war. Yes, exactly. Yes. This was on
Correct,
the first day of the war, just
First day.
before the war began. Yeah.
Correct. And Sanjay could see the whole war, 45 days he could see the war.
18 days.
18 days he could see the war.
Yes, live.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you.
he got divine vision by Vyasadeva. No, Vyasadeva gave him the divine vision. That's why he was able to see.
Okay,
That's
thank you much.
You're welcome. Anything else we need to discuss?
That bigger mistake, but that was a one. I think I was just trying to see where Lord Krishna is. I just can't remember it. Mistake is bigger, and I just can't recall. There was
Mistake
one.
is bigger or Krishna is bigger.
Yes, that particular chapter where you had the slide on. Can I see that slide, Mataji?
Okay, 1 second.
I'm just trying to, because I thought I.
Don't tell.
Problem is bigger or the
Don't tell Krishna
problem is
how big your problems
I
are.
think
problem is bigger, huh? And the
problems.
Krishna.
Yeah, I think it was problem is bigger than. Yeah, it is that one. I think got big problem. Yeah. Got big problems. Krishna is bigger. So does it mean like when you got problem, then Krishna is bigger means because he can solve? So then that kind of problem solver, does it kind of go with that also? Or is it just when we say that we have a big problem, but he's going to be solving it. So then it becomes like, okay, because he's the solver. So he's the one who is bigger than the problem.
Yeah, either he will solve the problem or he will give us the potency or the power to tackle the problem and to transcend the problem. Because see, when we take a flight and we are going higher in the air, then the same trees and the buildings that appeared big to us before now appear small and insignificant. So when we follow Krishna consciousness, when we take to sadhana bhakti, then the same problems which appeared big before are now, because we have elevated ourselves, our consciousness is now elevated. Therefore, now the same problems now appear insignificant to us. We are able to tackle those problems. We are able to transcend the problem. So either he will solve the problem or he will give us the potency to tackle and transcend those problems.
We'll get this slide also, no? When you sent us, Mataji.
Yes, I will
The-
share it. I
okay.
will share all these slides in the group.
Okay. That's so beautiful, the way Lord Krishna is looking.
Yeah.
on this. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay. Anything else? So Shivani, how are you after your accident? I read your message in the group. I just didn't have the time to reply. Are you there, Shivani?
Yes, Mataji, I'm okay. I'm in a rental car right now.
Okay. So anyway, whatever happened, some karma you have paid off, and Krishna just gave you a small love tap on the cheek, because we are glad to see that you're fine. You're around. This could have been even more fatal than what it turned out to be. Actually, just imagine the way you described it. It's so dangerous. But I'm very glad and happy to see you fine. You have fractured your arm, it appears.
No, it hurts after the accident, so I just wear it for support. I have a doctor's appointment next month. So
Okay. So I'm
yeah,
very
now the insurance company is.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Ultimately,
I didn't hear
Krishna
you.
will take care. Don't see, we go through issues. At the end of it, Krishna always gives a happy ending. I've also had this personal experience. Sometimes when we do these home programs, there are some issues, something is not working, some problem is there, but at the end of it, he gives a happy ending. So don't worry, at the end, everything will play out fine, Shivani Mataji, I'm sure.
We'll all pray for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. It's funny because when the accident happened, they were going to pay us, but then I don't know what happened. My husband said something, so it like linger out, it just, they decide something else. Now they were supposed to pay last week. It's been like, now this is my third week after the accident and I'm in a rental car. And now they're telling me that it was your fault, so we will not pay for your damage. I'm like, the person was speeding in a 35 speed limit. She is going 50, which is not true. She was going at least 65. With the damage, she did to my car, to her car, and we have the same insurance. The person who hit me has insurance, the same insurance. So they want to pay her, but not me. So I've left it in Krishna's hands. Whatever he does is okay,
Yes.
It is what it is. I know he will not disappoint me. I know that. So my full faith. And guess what, Mataji? In this rental car, I was so scared. I didn't know if I would make it. I went to West Virginia, New Vrindavan Temple with my oldest daughter.
Oh, okay.
Amazing. It was really
Wow.
amazing.
Very nice.
Yeah. I drove in the morning, then I drove the same day back because I had to work the next day. But it's so beautiful. You don't want to come back. It's just amazing. I was planning to go since June. So June, July, I didn't get to go. But after the car accident, Krishna's, he brought me there. So I was
he
happy.
fulfilled your desire.
Yes.
See? Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. He never disappoints. People will disappoint you, but Krishna will never disappoint you.
Yes. He's our most intimate friend, isn't it? Okay.
I'm glad joined your class today. I was missing it. And now we finished Bhagavad Gita. Hopefully we can start Bhagavatam. That's up to you. But
No, it's up to Guru and Krishna. It's not up to me. We'll see. We'll discuss in the next class and see how it goes.
so what time will it be? 10:30 for Eastern time zone for us.
What's the time there right now for you?
7:02. 7:02 p.m.
7? It's 7?
Yeah, in the evening.
Yeah, same. We are on the same time zone, Mataji. So it will be for you 10:30.
Okay. 10:30. Okay. Great. So I will join from work then. So I won't say anything, but I can listen in.
Jai. Thank you so much. So how is Sri Hari
Thank you,
Rama
Hare Krishna.
doing?
Hare
Is she here? Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she's here.
Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji. What did you say? I didn't hear you.
No, I was just inquiring, how are you doing, Mataji?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm okay. We missed your sweet voice today, Mataji.
Mataji, can you help me? I need an OCI card to go to India forever in Vrindavan, and I'm unable to get it. I applied for my visa twice. I got rejected, and the visa officer is telling me to apply for OCI card. I don't know anything about that.
OCI card, you need to present either your parents or grandparents if they are Indian passport holders, then you can get an OCI card.
Yeah, but can you help me find somebody that can help me, like a devotee person who can fill everything up on the computer, and I can give him all the information that he needs?
I really don't have such contacts, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji.
So Adarsh, how are you doing?
I'm good, ma'am. Thank you.
Adarsh I see often because he's a very regular on our home programs.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. See you all in 2 weeks from now. Till then, have a nice Janmashtami. Yes, Janmashtami is on the 19th. I'm sorry, I forgot this. 19th is Janmashtami. We fast till 12 midnight because that's when Krishna appeared. If you can fast till 12 midnight. If you can't, for health reasons or whatever reasons, then you see how far you can go. And on the next day of Janmashtami, on the 20th, is the appearance day of Srila Prabhupada. That I would recommend. Please fast till 12 noon for Srila Prabhupada and receive his blessing. And Sri Radha Ashtami is on. Wait 1 second. Where is that? Sri Radha Ashtami is on the 3rd of September. So Srila Prabhupada said that Radha Ashtami is even more important than Janmashtami. Janmashtami is just an indication, a reminder for us that in 15 days from now, you have to prepare for Radha Ashtami celebrations. Why is Radha Ashtami more important than Janmashtami? Krishna is Madana Mohana. He is the attractor of thousands of cupids. But Srimati Radharani is Madana Mohana Mohini. She is that personality who attracts Madana Mohana, the attractor of thousands of cupids. So, and when Prabhupada referred to Krishna, he would refer to Krishna as just Krishna. But when he referred to Srimati Radharani, he applied double honorific titles, Srimati Radha Rani. So double honor for her. So therefore, please also try to fast for the appearance day of Srimati Radharani. Fasting is again till 12 noon. So have a nice Janmashtami and a nice Prabhupada festival, and I will see you in 2 weeks from now, Krishna willing. Have a nice celebration.
Thank you.
Hey, what
Thank you,
prasadam do
Hare
we
Krishna.
make for?
For when? For when?
Janmashtami.
Janmashtami, we prepare all that Krishna likes to eat because Krishna can eat anything, but we break the fast with non-grain prasad, Ekadasi prasad.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Or whatever your local temple provides. Okay. All right. Take care. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
One
ma'am.
question: is there gonna be Janmashtami at the Hare Krishna temple on
Yes,
the 19th?
yes, definitely there is, but not till 12 midnight because of COVID restrictions are still there. So probably they will have prasadam parayevar. You take it home and then you break the fast.
Ah, okay. We'll try to come.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, ma'am. Hare Krishna.